Welcome to the happiness broadcast, folks.
Are we here?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're here.
Wow. And we've got a cup of tea. Everything is well with the world.
Effortless. It's all well in the world.
It's also smooth because we're happy.
Because we're happy. Getting that white boy dance going. Yeah. Gotta love it.
Nice cup of tea. Everything is well with the world, John.
That's
Happiness. You know, it's almost like more than a feeling, isn't it? Just saying. Just throwing that one out there.
Look at that dad joke.
Hey, Swifty.
Hey, Swift Beats.
Swifty's in the house because he's happy.
Welcome to the happy broadcast, week 7.
Week 7. Can you create happiness, John? That is the question.
I think so.
That's the song
I think
finished.
so.
Now you're making me unhappy. I was listening to the song.
Oh, look at you. Well, we can't play the whole song. Come on now. We got a broadcast to get to.
Oh. Yes, I need to check my... Yes, you do. You do. And you can do that because I'm happy.
That's right.
Like a tooth without a root. No, that's not it, is it? That's not how it goes.
That's not it. That's not it. It's not a tooth without a root. Come on now. Hey, Daniel Miner, welcome to the broadcast, buddy.
Everybody's coming in thick and fast.
That's right. That's right.
And
better get a catcher's mask on. So,
So,
welcome to week 7, folks. This is a kind of a special broadcast for me. It is the happiness broadcast. With me, as always, is the illustrious and wonderful Colin Porter.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, John. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, we're always so prepared and with it, and all the technology is up and running smooth. And don't you just love it when a plan comes together?
Oh, yeah, when it's so smooth and we show up 18 minutes late for the broadcast start time. Technology's working smooth. But you know what?
Inconsistent.
I love, in a way, I love that we had a little bit of technology hiccups to get this one started and made us a little bit late to help illustrate the point that things can go pear-shaped and sideways and you can still be a happy person.
Oh, I've got
Oh,
yes, we can. What happened there? Something happened. Did you?
Oh, it looks like you had that British internet strike again.
Oh no! But I'm happy.
That's what it is. It couldn't handle it. It couldn't handle it.
Too much happiness.
Hey, Desiree, welcome to the broadcast.
This is in the happy broadcast tonight.
That's right. That's right. So tonight's broadcast, the central focus of it, and we're going to break it down to all the different kind of facets that we can at least think of. Maybe not all of them, but you know what we could think of. Essentially, what tonight's broadcast is what the title says. You know, as Colin says, it's what it says on the tin.
On the tin. Exactly.
That's right. That's right. Happiness should be a state of being, not just a feeling because something happened, right? Because like you watched a good movie, it made you feel good, or somebody paid you a compliment, it made you feel good, right? Happiness should be a state of who you are and who you choose to be versus just an emotion that you get because something happened. So that's basically the gist of tonight's broadcast. And it breaks down to a bunch of different points, but yeah, there it is.
It breaks down to so many different points, and then I'll break them down even further probably because I'm just so pedantic when it comes to breaking things down. But I don't care because I've got a cup of tea. Everything is well with the world. And just to show how this actually pans out, you experience the emotion, you can go into a panic there,
Hmm.
but still feel okay about it.
Yeah.
We're preparing for the broadcast, and I'm rushing around, and I'm a Brit, so I've got to have a cup of tea. It's got to be done. We know this.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
So I prepped. I've already prepped. One step ahead of the masses. Well, I like to think I am. We can think. We can dream. So I've got the milk in there. I've got the sugar in there. I've got the tea bag in there. PG Tips, of course. Just a little shameless plug for PG Tips. Everybody should do PG Tip. So I've got the cup ready, and it's there. And John's talking to me and said, "Are you ready for the broadcast?" Yep. And then my internet went pear-shaped. It went south like you'd never believe. It plummeted. So I'm rushing about, trying to make the cup of tea. So I dash in there while it's restarting, pour the water in the cup, come back in here. Okay, not a problem. Yes, we've got the bullet points. Yes, we've got internet. We've got sound. We've got the happy track. We're ready to rock. Go grab the cup of tea because it should be almost brewed by now. Stir in the. Hang on a minute. I didn't even boil the frigging kettle. And I'm thinking, John Powell, what are you doing to me? A cup of cold tea in a cracked cup with no milk or sugar or tea. So straight in the microwave with it. Plan B. We're ready to rock. So we're good to go. So everything is well again. So happiness is more than a feeling, and it certainly is. I mean, it's something I struggled with for a long time, as John knows, differentiating happiness and emotions and sort of thing. So it's now a subject close to my heart. I like to think that happiness is a cigar, a mild cigar from Benson and Hedges. No, that was an old advert from British TV. Happiness, see, this guy learns. This guy takes on good advice so easily. I've been saying for weeks, John, plug the book. Oh, look, right.
Yeah, we'll knock it out early.
Yep. It is only in the UK 11:25, and John is knocking one off. I mean, knocking one out.
Come on now.
No. So we're drinking tea and talking about happiness. That would make you happy, John. But would that
there you go. There you go.
Or would it be a feeling?
Got to keep it British, right?
We have. I mean, damn it.
There you go.
Right. So as I say, I struggled with this one for a long while. And then somebody said to me that you can look at it so much easier if you come from the perspective of an emotion being something that floods through the body and you experience that.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling is how you label that.
Mm-hmm.
What container you put that in. So like tonight, I'm a smoker. Everybody knows I'm a smoker because I sit here on most of the broadcasts that John does smoking. And as I say, we're prepping for the broadcast and I'm thinking, I'm running out of filters. I've got to get some more filters. So that was an emotion that I first experienced. It went flooding through. Panic. And then I had the feeling, okay, this is what's happening. I'm feeling like this because I'll go around the shop. I'll get some more filters. Job done. That's what I did. Plenty of filters. Happiness is restored.
Now, here's the question. Did the happiness actually leave you, or did you just feel a transitory little bit of stress and urgency to get whatever it was done? And then when that thing was done, then you just reverted back to your standard state?
Well, I think it was a little bit like the fight flight response that we can all relate to that kicked in. It's like I like to think of emotion like you see that lion. It's like, there's a lion. Let's run. And then the feeling is like, oh, there might be a lion here. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So look at the feeling as the label that we're placing on it. So theoretically, if we keep experiencing something and going into that panic or going into that anger or going into that bad emotional feeling, but we keep relating to that in a specific way, by changing the way we relate to it, by changing the labels that we place on that, by changing the container that we put that emotion in, each time we experience that emotion, we can come from a better place, a happier place. I think that's what I think that's pretty much encompassed what it is that we're trying to say as an overview tonight. Is that right, John?
I think so. And as always, before Colin and I start a broadcast, we have a little powwow, sit down, and kind of get on the same page about everything, and then we do a broadcast, of course. And part of that discussion, if I can kind of just bring that to light with everyone else, part of that discussion was the I'm trying to think of a good way to word it. Part of it was just so that, like, we understand that emotions are just they're like the passing weather, right? Like a good thing can happen to you, and then you feel really good. And then when that thing comes and goes, like it often does, when it leaves, then what are you left with, right? And that's, I think, kind of the foundation of this is we want to, or at least encourage everyone to have a sense of happiness with it, like no matter what the situation is, that when those good times come and then they go, yes, you feel better when they come. You feel even better because it's a really good time, right? You feel the emotion. It's good. It's healthy. But just accept that emotion is going to come and go. What was it? Who was it? Les Brown. Les Brown says, "It has not come to stay. It has come to pass."
Yeah, this too shall pass.
Right. So that's any emotion. That's anything. And one of the things that I was telling Colin about earlier was that if you take one of those online personality tests, like the Myers-Briggs personality test thing, I don't know if you've ever heard of those or taken it. I've done this test myself, so I kind of know this is true. I've walked other people through it, and it's very, very interesting to try this. I encourage you to give it a test. Give the test a test.
I tried it, and it said to me, "Cole, you've definitely got a personality." So I was impressed with that. That was good enough.
There you go. So see, it's successful. So, like if you take the Myers-Briggs specifically, at the end of the like 150 whatever number of questions it is, it breaks down your personality into 4 categories, and the way those 4 categories combine together is indicative of your personality type. Okay, so your personality fits into this category, this category, this category, and this category out of all of them, and then it puts them together in a certain way, and then that kind of builds who you are. If you take that test and then you watch a super sad movie, and then you get bad news from one of your friends, like your cat's sick and you got to go to the vet and you're stressed out about that, and you immediately take that test again, it will show you a whole different personality because of the mood that you're currently in. However, which one do you think is more true? The one that you took before all the bad news and the bad movie that made you sad, or the one that you took after the bad news and you've watched this movie and it made you feel bad for now? Which one do you think is more true about who you really are as a person?
And that opens up a whole new kettle of fish, because some people actually choose to watch these. I think over here they call them weepies. They would choose to sit there and watch something. Mm-hmm. So that's like a double-edged sword, because we've all been there, in a place where we want to watch something good. And so, as I say, some people will invariably choose a weepy. So they'll sit there and watch a film that they know that's going to make them feel sad, but they feel good because they're watching a film that they've chosen to watch.
Right.
The double-edged sword comes in that we've all been in a bad place as well. When everything's gone pear-shaped, everything's gone south. And what do? Rather than trying to feel better about it and acknowledging the fact that, as you just said, this too shall pass, we go into a place where we think, I know what I'll do. I'll listen to some really sad songs.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done it. And learned from the experience. Woe is me. My girlfriend's left me. My wife's left me. This has happened. Let's listen to some really sad songs and feel really even further down about it.
Exactly, C.S. Murphy. Exactly.
I think
exactly the point.
No, it leaves you with a momentary feeling of stress. Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to bring to the table, as I say, because we're talking about differentiating feelings plus emotions.
Hmm.
You know, that emotion will come through, and it'll give you that feeling as it floods through your body there. But if you focus on that for too long, it's like feeling the sadness of the loss of the cat. Or, well, you didn't say the cat had gone, but let's assume that the cat
Right.
gone.
Well, yeah.
So if you're focusing on the feeling that the cat's gone, you're going to experience that sense of loss, and it could last you for a few weeks. That's how you'd
Yeah.
feel about it. But if you really focused on it, you could then go into a depression,
Hmm.
because what you've done, you've hardwired that feeling. You've created that new box that you've now fitted that category into, and it says that, I'm never going to get over this.
Right. And there is, so I feel it's important to be said here that whatever emotion you're having, whatever the scenario is, good or bad, like you get a promotion at work, or your girlfriend broke up with your boyfriend, whatever, right? Whatever it is, there is value in just feeling that emotion and
Yeah.
kind of letting it have you for a time. But
Processing.
yeah, to process it, right? To just let the emotion just swallow you whole and just have it for a time. But it's not good to decide to set up shop and put the couch over here and the bed over here and then live in that space.
No.
Okay? You don't want to live in that space. You want to have the amount of time to let that emotion wash over you, and then picture it like the waves at the beach. Okay? The wave comes up on the beach, you let the wave come up, but don't go back out to the ocean with the wave. Just let it go on its own.
Yeah, don't keep chasing it.
Right. Don't chase it. Just let it go. When it starts to go, let it go.
I love that. It's like when you talk about the waves, and we think automatically about the ebb and the flow of the tide.
Mm-hmm.
And so often through personal development, these things have been brought to table as a metaphor, not a metaphor. That's like a floor that's even further down than the floor you've got. We're
That's
not going
right.
to go to that one. A
So
metaphor.
it's floor inception, a floor within a floor within a floor.
Within a floor, and then you start going
That's right.
down that rabbit hole and into the depths of despair, and it's doom and gloom and thunderbolt and lightning and very, very frightening and Galileo. Exactly, but I can't get up that high, not unless I wear my tight trousers. Right, so, and you broke my pattern, John. You broke my train of thought. Right, ebb and flow. Right, we're back in full effect. Right, so the ebb and the flow. And people talk about there's a season to sow and a season to reap, but we don't do both in the same season. So there's a time to reap the effects of that loss, of that point in time where everything was not quite as we'd like it to be. But then there's also a new season as it comes around, because time is constant. There's then a season to grow and a season to sow again. So we've got to allow that experience to take its toll, to completely immerse us. Nobody's saying, okay, this happened to your cat. Don't feel like that about it. It's okay. You're going to get over it. Allow yourself to experience that feeling.
Right.
But there's a time to move through it, not necessarily get over it, but get through it. Go on.
But I do want to point out, though, that there is another value that I suspect, I believe at least, that that a lot of people, including myself for a long time, struggle with. And that's kind of distinguishing between who I am as a person, who I'm deciding to be, who I've decided to be and represent myself, and the emotions that I'm feeling from day to day to day. Like, I'm having a bad Tuesday. Oh, Monday sucks. Blah, blah, blah. For a long time, I represented who I was as a person based on the emotions that I was feeling. I would explode at people. I would, whatever, right? I was completely out of control, right? Like, my state was an emotional roller coaster, up and down. And I am sure everybody watching this broadcast can immediately think of at least one person, or if you can't, it's probably you. Okay? But where their emotional state is a roller coaster. They're really high, they're really low, they're kind of even keeled, and something happens. Somebody, parks, uses your driveway to turn around on the street with, and you freak out. So I get it. But there is an importance here that we can, number one point is we can decide what our state is, and it takes practice. It takes a little bit of time. It's not a snap your fingers and here you are moment, right? It's a process. So that's number one. It's a process, and you can decide which state you want to be in. That's a decision you're able to make for yourself, and you can either choose to let someone else make it for you and be completely at the whim of everyone around you, or you can decide for yourself. Okay, that's point one. And point two is when you get these emotions, they can serve as a sort of like an example for you, so that you can feel and be aware of and know what it feels like to be in this state. You have a frame of reference.
Yeah.
When you're happy, you know what that feels like. So when you're trying to be happy all the time as your state of being, you have a reference for what that means for you, right? What that means for someone else is different from what it means for you. But you've been happy in your life, so you know what that means. You know what that feels like. You can decide for that to be your state.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a thermostat.
Yeah.
If you can imagine the thermostat set at 20 degrees as your base point, there's always going to be somebody that turns up and opens the door or leaves the window open, and that temperature drop.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody that comes in and raises the roof and lights a fire under your arse, so to speak.
Right.
And everything can go pear-shaped. But you know that 20 degrees is your baseline. 20 degrees is your comfort spot. So you can acknowledge the fact that it's going to come back up to 20 degrees. Or it's going to come back down to 20 degrees. I think that's what we're trying to say here.
Yeah, we're just trying to say, decide where your baseline is. That's your decision to make. That's nobody else's, right? You decide where your baseline is. And even if you're having a kind of a piss off day, like you're on your way to work, you blew a tire out on your car, and as you're sitting beside the car getting ready to change the tire, some guy comes up and rear ends your car and tears up the back end of your car. You finally get a taxi. You spent your last $30 in the bank to get you to work, and you get to work, and then the boss reams you for being late that day, and then you sit down, you spill your hot tea all over yourself, and then you got to talk to somebody, and then the first person you talk to is just somebody that you really just want to punch in the mouth if they say one more thing to you, blah, blah, blah. Okay?
Especially if you made the tea with cold water. Yeah.
Right? That's a bad day, and it is okay to have a bad day. That doesn't mean that you change who you are as a person. You still have your baseline. You can have a piss-off day and still have your baseline. You can get, the temperature can be turned up, it can be turned down, whatever. You still have your baseline.
Exactly. So if you can look at it like happiness being a perspective, an outlook, you can hang on to that outlook knowing that, as John quoted Les Brown, that this too shall pass.
Right.
So
it's not come to stay, it's come to pass. I love it. Oh.
It's come to pass. So, and that is why we're bringing this to the table. Because when we're struggling with life, when we can recognize the fact that you can set a baseline, even though the emotions are going to come, they're going to go. Because emotions, they come flooding through, and eventually they do go away. But your happiness or your perspective, your outlook, your baseline is more consistent over a longer period of time.
Right.
And by acknowledging that, it tells you that you can get through this, whatever the experience is that life's going to throw at you. Because bear in mind, life will always throw you a curveball. Just when things are going along really smoothly, and you think, "Yep, we're organized. We've got the broadcast booked. We've got this on. We've got that on. Blah blah blah. We've got the bullet points. We've got the topic." All of a sudden, technology comes down, sneaks up and bites you on the ass.
That's right.
Or somebody distracts you and you forget to boil the kettle, John. But it happens. But we get through that, and we come on the broadcast, and we're our normal selves. We're at our baseline again. Everything is well with the world.
That's right. That's right. So I guess the key, and I'm sure other people who've seen this have heard this old adage that it's not about the journey, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right? Um,
Oh yeah.
so this is kind of similar to that. I'm not talking about a journey and at the end of the road, like you finally achieved blissful happiness, blah 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 blah, right? That's why the Declaration of Independence calls it the pursuit of happiness, right? Because these guys who are way smarter than me knew that it was a constant pursuit,
Yeah.
right? It's
From
a
the cradle
constant
to the grave.
thing,
From the cradle to the grave.
right?
100%.
It's a constant thing. There's always going to be, like Colin pointed out, life's always going to throw something at you. Life is always going to be right there for you to test you. There's always going to be somebody there to test your patience, to test your willpower, and to just test you and see how on point you're going to be. But the thing is it's not about them. It's not about anything else but about how you perceive it, right? And if you're going to be happy, that's what you've decided. That's for you and nobody else. So
Yeah. So we could actually look at it. This is how I look at it. Like a feeling is an interpretation of the emotion. Okay,
yeah,
so that feeling zooms through your body, and believe me, it does it like in a fraction of a second. It's like
yeah,
100 of a second, and it's there. It's upon you. But without that feeling, we wouldn't know there's a lion. Let's get out of here.
right,
We wouldn't know. It's inbuilt. It's intrinsic. It's part of who we are as human
right,
beings. But when that feeling comes in, it's no good thinking, okay, it's only a lion. We might be able to handle this. Logic goes out of the window.
Hmm.
I mean, this is why when these emotions come flooding through our body, we instantly react according to our baseline.
right,
We instantly react. And we can say the wrong thing. We can say something that's, well, I was going to say out of character, but it's not out of character because that's part of who we are. But when John says this and blah, 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 and I fire back at him, or I say something and John fires back
right,
at me. And then afterwards we think, hang on a minute, under normal circumstances, I would not have said this.
right,
That all ties back to your baseline.
exactly,
So the takeaway is when you experience that feeling, if you can relabel it, it's the difference between being pissed off when something happens and saying, well, I'm really not impressed with this. It's the same emotion, but the label that we attach to it, we call a feeling.
right,
And the label that we attach to it is going to affect how we go through life, whether we're going to go up and down and up and down and up and down, or just ride the waves.
right. And in something that Colin and I did discuss before, was the kind of the differences between a lot of people's different personalities and approaches for their different baselines from one person to another.
Yep.
And I've said it before in previous broadcasts, like I've changed who I am as a person over the years. And I would like to use this moment as an example to illustrate that kind of a change. Once upon a time, I used to be the person that no matter what happened, I would always say it's not enough, or I need help, I need this, right? Like I'm trying to give a really good example of this. Like I would always need somebody to help me out with money because I was piss poor about managing money, right? That was my fault.
Yep.
But my baseline in my head and my belief system, I believed that it was other people's fault for not supporting me, right? Even though I'm the one that got myself in that. You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So
where are my friends? Why aren't they supporting me? Why aren't they helping me out?
Exactly.
Been there at 16. At 16, just to quickly interject, 16,
yeah,
left school, and I managed to get a placement on something over here that they used to call the Youth Opportunity Program. And I was working 40 hours, and I was getting £15 a week. We're talking 1980, thereabouts. Right, so I'm working 40 hours, and I've got my best buddy who I left school with at the same time, and he went to work at road planers. Can't think of the name of it, but he went to work at this place and he got a job there. And he was on £100 a week, John. True story. He's on £100 a week. I'm on £50 a week. We're both doing 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
So at that age, we're going out to the pub at the weekend, and we're going out on a Thursday night, on a Friday night, Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to my dad, you know, can I borrow some money till next week? My mate's there. He's like doing these 40 hours to get £100. He's perfectly able to sustain his Thursday night, his Friday night, his Saturday night, and just pouring it down his neck. And I'm not. And then I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, well, Darren, that's my best buddy's name. I'm thinking, well, why doesn't Darren just buy me a beer? You know, he's got all this money coming in. We're working the same hours. Where's your support? You're my friend. You know, what's going on?
Yeah.
So it's not till later life, till, as you say, you acknowledge the fact that personal responsibility, you are responsible for yourself, and you start cutting your coat according to your cloth and not trying to keep, this hinges back to last week, keeping up with the Joneses.
Right.
I didn't need to go out Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point in time in my youth, it was a done thing. Rather than stepping back and saying, I'm not going to have to keep up with the Joneses, you know, I think Ed Lynn brought this to the point. It's not in his vision. It's not in his plan for his life.
Right.
But that's what we do. So that, just bringing that point to time with what you were saying, John. So go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. You know, so I do want to point out, I mean, and I'm sure we all know these people, right? I'm sure every one of us can think of someone in our lives that person, it's always, there's always a need for more, right? There's always, and then when you've done more and you can't give any more at all, then the person's like, well, what's wrong with you? I need help. Why didn't you do more to help me? Blah, 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 blah. Like there, I don't even want to call it entitlement. It's just, it's a different mindset, right? They're coming from a place.
You would do that for them. That's the point, isn't it? If
right.
The boot had been on the foot, you'd say, yeah, here you go.
Yeah. You know, and in the problem, the reason why I think, at least, the reason why this whole shebang kind of falls out the way that it does is because that person, or as I was at that time, has a different baseline. They come from a baseline of need and want, right? Like, I need this. I want this. I'm not getting my needs fulfilled. Yeah. Right. I have needs and they're not being fulfilled. I'm not happy, whatever. And sidebar point, this is also, I believe, why a lot of people turn to addictions, because they have needs in their life that are not being fulfilled in a healthy, meaningful way. Right. And so they turn to various addictions, drugs, drinking, whatever it is. Right. Going out and gambling, like whatever it is. If you're doing it too much, it's an addiction. Okay. If you're on your phone too much, it's an addiction. If you can't go to a dinner and sit down with people and have a conversation with the people you're with and not be texting someone who isn't there, you've got an addiction. Right? Like that's just putting it, putting out in the simple. That's what it is. Call a spade kind of thing. You know?
I like that. I like that because like I say, and John and I always come up against this sort of bone of contention. There are always two ways to look at everything. And you can get addicted to work.
Yeah.
But that can be a good thing. There are some healthy addictions as long as it's not detrimental to your health.
Exactly. Or your relationships or yourself.
Exactly. You know, I mean, when you experience that feeling of love and you do anything for the woman that you love or the man that you love, you know, that could come under certain circumstances as an addiction, but that can be a healthy addiction. It can be promoting your quality of life.
Right.
But what we're talking here is negative addiction.
Right. You know, and the trouble with that, and again, like I said, I'm not bagging on anybody. Okay. I'm talking about me 20 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
That person that I once was is who I am no longer now. Okay. Because I figured out this whole thing. And it wasn't something that I just snapped my fingers and I was just boom, a different person. I started to understand and be aware that my baseline that I was at was starting always. Everything I did was always influenced because I was starting from a place of need and want. Okay, always. I couldn't pay my bills, so I needed more. I couldn't do this, so I needed more. Blah blah. I wanted this piece of technology, so I didn't pay a bill, so I could buy this thing. Now I couldn't pay my bill. Poor decisions all around. Okay,
Yeah.
it was a need and want thing, and this influenced. Please trust me and hear me when I tell you, this influences everything. I even went to go and get jobs, and during interviews, the interviewer person could tell that I'm coming from a place of desperation and need, and they did not want that element in their workforce, and they didn't hire me because of it.
Mm.
Okay.
A lot of companies will hire people based on their personality review as
Yeah.
well. That sort of ties in nicely with what you're saying there. I mean, one of my needs, I waited for the gap there because one of my needs is when somebody makes a point, I have to interrupt and I've got to make this point. So I'm in the process now where I write down the point that I'm trying to make so that when the gap does come or when we've dealt with the topic that they're bringing to the table,
Mhm.
I can now raise my point. So
There you
I wanted to say that John is not John. John is in the process of being John.
Right.
Yeah. John is in the process of being John. We're not, like John said, he changed who he was, but he didn't change who he was. I mean, John is his name, but he could have been called Colin, but
Yeah.
he would still be the same person. John is not his body. His body is something that he has.
Right.
You know, he has a hand, he has a leg, he has a foot.
Yeah.
So you don't phone work and say, "Oh, the body's not coming in today." We don't do that.
Let's try that.
We don't. Yeah, let's try it. Yeah, the body's not coming in today. But the point here being that who we are is a combination of our behaviors
That's right.
various contexts. So I'm not Colin. I'm being Colin.
Right.
The point here is that when you change the things that you do, you are no longer that person. You are now the new person. So the benefit of that is when somebody comes along and says, "Oh, you won't do this. I know that's not what you won't do this because you never do this." And then you can turn around and reasonably say to them, "Hang on a minute, you're accusing the wrong person. That is no longer who I am."
Right.
So people can't tar you with the same brush. Anyway, that was the point I was just bringing to the table.
You know, I love that you brought that point up because when I was starting one of the business ventures that I've had in the past, I actually had someone that I knew kind of, sort of, didn't know well, but like an acquaintance, if you will.
Yeah.
I had somebody come to me and actually say, "I don't know why you're doing this because you're going to fail." Right? Like somebody actually said that to me, and
Wow.
I just thankfully I had finally reached a point in my life that it didn't really bug me that bad,
Okay.
and I just told him, like, you know what, you're right. I am going to fail, but the difference between you and I is that I'm not afraid to fail to be successful.
Yeah, we're back to the guy that invented the light bulb.
Right.
And somebody said, well, how did it feel that you failed 900 times? Edison is
Yeah.
his name, and it's just come back to me. Edison, and they said, how did it feel, failing all those times? He says, I didn't fail all those times. Each time I ticked off the box something that it wasn't the way that this was going to work.
Right.
And eventually
I found the ways that it wasn't working.
Yeah. Eventually I'd be left with a way that does work.
Yeah. It's a different mentality. And again, this borrows back to the whole thing of what's your baseline, right? Yeah. If you're coming back from what your baseline is, if your baseline is like mine was at the time, need and want and desperation, when I try something and it doesn't work, I've told myself it's not going to work, and then it doesn't work, and I'm like, okay, well, shit, okay, it didn't work. I knew it wasn't going to work. I'm not going to try it ever again because it's just not in the cards, right?
Yeah.
That was my baseline for most of my life, folks.
Yeah, me too.
And please don't do this. change your baseline. We're simply suggesting, like, you know what it feels like to be happy. A friend of yours comes to you and tells you a funny joke. Somebody, you know what? Somebody comes by and gives you a surprise little gift because it's Tuesday and they appreciate you, and it makes you feel good. Not just have a laugh with friends, but you feel good, right? That's what I'm suggesting that you intentionally choose to be your go-to standard baseline, is that feeling of how it that goodness when somebody does something really nice for you and you're like, "Aw," right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm suggesting. If you come from that point and bad crap happens to you, yeah, it happened, but it doesn't change who you are, right? Like, somebody treats you bad, sure, but it doesn't change who you are.
No. Can I add to that?
Of course, that's why you're here.
I knew I served a purpose. Why am I here? Oh, you're here to speak when I've run out of something to say. Thank you, John.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, folks, the update is I speak when Colin has nothing left to say.
No, it was I said it the other way around. I said, I'm only here to speak. Oh, dear. But I don't care, because that was an emotion. I choose to feel happy about that. That's my baseline.
There you go.
Right. What was I trying to say? Yes. Baseline. It's okay, me and John sitting here slinging this terminology out there, choose to change your baseline, blah, blah, blah. So how do we change that baseline? What could be another way of saying baseline? To my mind, I would say it's the difference between being a pessimist and being an optimist. I mean, a lot of people can look at that glass and say it's half empty or it's half full, and the pessimist's always going to say, yeah, but it's only half full. And the optimist's always going to say, yeah, half empty. But the optimist is always going to say, yeah, but it's half full, so I feel good about it. Which would you choose to be?
I'd be the idiot that says, water!
It's gone. It's now empty. Oh, that's good. No, but
it's empty. Can I have more?
Yeah, the pessimist will always say, but it's half empty. It's half empty. So they're going to feel down about it. They're going to find a way. I mean, we all know a pessimist. We all know somebody with a low baseline. That's what we're trying to say here.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my brothers, I love him to bits, but he always comes from that woe is me perspective. Unfortunately, it's just some people are just that way. And my other brother, he's more of a, yes, everything's good. I'm finding something happy to do, something to enjoy in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the pessimist is always going to feel down, feel despondent, and be in that mire, right. I suppose. Whereas the pessimist, the optimist rather, he might be always looking for something good to see. And he might get let down a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's looking constantly striving to find the good thing, then his life is going to run smoother, isn't it? He's going to be in a good place the majority of the time. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah. And who you, and I do want to kind of just briefly kind of touch back to the whole thing about the job interview thing.
Please do.
If you were to switch the roles, right? Because like I said, I came to job interviews out of that desperation mindset. Like, I'm dead. Listen, man, I need the job, man. You got to give it to me, And they're like, no, hang on. Right? But if I'd have came to them, if I'd have came to them and said, yeah, I'd like to work here, and then interviewed and genuinely was interested, genuinely said, I'd like to work here, blah blah blah, and just did the interview, I would get different results. This is why, statistically speaking, people who already have a job are far more likely to be offered a new job at a new company than those who are not employed and are looking for jobs, because of these two mindsets that they're coming from. One is coming from a place of abundance, and one is coming from a place of need and want. So the need and want guy or girl is going to be less likely to be offered that job because they're coming from a place of I don't have enough. I need more. I need this. I need this. Me.
Lack and limitation. Yeah. A lack
Right.
and limitation perspective. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Whereas the other one's coming in saying, you know what, my needs are met. Are you going to make my life better? Is this going to make me better?
Do for me? What can your company do for me? Why should I take this job?
Exactly. There's a different point of confidence, of self-confidence and self-reliance that comes from that. And people pick up on that. You present yourself in a lot stronger, different way with that mindset. So, food for thought.
I like it when you say so, because that means there's a gap coming and I can bring my point to the table. And I feel happy. I feel happy.
Feel happy. You make me play the song again, aren't you?
Yes. Put the song on. Come on, let's have a brief interlude. Put the song on.
Yeah, let's put the song back on. Let's put the song back on.
I've got an idea. While you're playing the song, you know what I'm going to do, don't you?
What are you going to do?
You know exactly what I'm going to do while you're playing the song. I've got a kettle that's calling my name. Cue the song. Cue the tea making song.
He's getting me a cup of tea. In the meantime, is there anybody that wants to come up? I mean, anybody. It doesn't make a difference. If you want to come up, come on up. We can get you invited to come on down. Price is all right. If you feel like a room without a roof, because I'm happy, clap along. If you feel like happiness is the truth, because I'm happy. If you know what happiness is to you, because I'm happy, clap along. If you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Give me all you got and don't hold me back. I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. If anybody wants to come on up and talk with us, come on up. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Been going for what? What is this, 47 minutes? Woo! If you feel like happiness is the truth, because I'm happy, if you know what happiness is to you, because I'm happy, clap along. If you feel like that's what you want to do, bring me down, bring me down, love is too high, bring me down, can't name, bring me down, I said, bring me down.
I'm happy. It's such a happy song.
It's a feel-good song.
It is. It is. Like a tooth without a root. No. It's a bit quiet on the volume, John. Increase the volume. Is that full up?
Oh, I didn't know if it was quiet or what. It seems awful loud to me. What you want to do? Bring me down, can't none bring me down, and love is to the bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, cause I'm clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
I'm surprised you haven't got a Rickroll running in the background.
Don't tempt me.
That would work. That would work. The happy song with a Rickroll in the middle of it. How awesome would that be? 'Cause I'm happy. There. And there we
There
are.
it is.
There it is, live and in full effect. Yes, what did I do? Oh, I wrote that down. Yes, you were talking about the job interview. And it conjured up in my memory something that Napoleon Hill said way back when. He said that when you go into the bank and you're looking for that bank loan, the bank manager knows. Somehow he knows that you're desperate for that money and he doesn't want you to have it. You know, because if you're coming from that place of desperation, people don't appreciate that. So whether it's your body language or the things that you say, or from Hill's perspective, you know, you're transmitting that idea. You know, he's reading your mind, so to speak. Yeah, there's so many different ways to approach this, but the bottom line is always the same. If you come in from a place of lack and limitation and transmitting that idea in whatever form, that person is not going to give you the job. That person is not going to, the bank manager is not going to give you the money.
Right.
So by changing your perspective and looking at it from a different point of view, because 9 times out of 10, that is all we've got to do. Approach whatever it is from a different direction. That way we're coming from a better feeling place. So sometimes it's just a case of switching from pessimist to optimist, but doing it from a logical perspective and say, why? How am I going to gain by changing my outlook? How am I going to change by raising my baseline? How am I going to change my life or upgrade my life by coming from a better feeling place?
You know, I think, and as I said before, like this is something that's kind of like a journey. It's not like you're not going to just snap your fingers today and tomorrow, you know, it's vastly different. Though you would be surprised, I think, to realize how much could change in just a day. If you just decide to change and then you're working on the little incremental things, like you'll notice, oh, I'm a little bit negative when this comes up. Well, if you notice that, maybe the next time it comes up, maybe make a decision to say, how can it go better? Or why is this good? You know, maybe ask the question instead of saying that it's just bad. Right?
Something Ed Lynn said, yes, 100%. Something Edward Lynn, you know, I call him the Pearlcaster of Haps. Great guy. In fact, stick his name, put at Ed Lynn in the box, see if he's around, and then he might be able to jump in. Just type in at Ed Lynn in the box, John, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it's a case of just asking the question, and that was his point. You know, life is a series of unanswered, not unanswered, but unasked questions. If we're willing to ask the question,
there we go.
You know, we can change our perspective. I mean, sometimes when that feeling comes in, it's a case of just sidestepping. You know, just sidestep that knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And by noticing it, that's half the issue. This is one of the hacks, mindset hacks, life hacks. If you notice what's happening and you sidestep it by either asking the question, what is actually happening? You're breaking that pattern of behavior. You can imagine the thought process, and you've got the brain, the synapses, not going to go too deep, but the brain synapses firing. So something happens and the synapses are firing. It goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, into this behavior. If you notice it and it's going like 1, 2, 3, notice what's happening, sidestep it.
Yeah.
It can't continue the loop. It can't continue the circuit. So you're going 1, 2, 3. What's different? How could I look at this? What else could I do differently? That is half the battle. Noticing what's going on and interrupting that circuit, that pattern. Then you're halfway there. And each time you notice it and sidestep it, that interruption becomes stronger and stronger and stronger neurologically. And you can then start to exhibit a new behavior, start to do something a little bit differently, start to approach it from a different direction.
Yep, exactly. And by no means are we saying that you have to be perfect with this. We're not saying that you need to be Gandhi, right? But please understand that Gandhi was human just like you and I. And no matter what he presented outwards from himself, when something would happen inside, he would get upset about it. He would get angry. He would feel emotions just like you or I would feel emotions. The difference is that he had control over himself to not present those emotions to other people, right? So we're not suggesting that you can't feel the emotions. We're not suggesting any of that. We're simply saying that you can notice it. You can say, okay, well, maybe I can do this differently, better, worse. It's all subjective, but maybe I can do it different. And then just try, right? It takes time, takes some practice. It's like, I don't know if you remember in another broadcast or two ago, I had that analogy where when you're trying to do something new and you're trying to walk from one, like through a field, and you're on one end of the field, you're trying to get to the other end of the field. And a lot of people these days have this erroneous notion in their head that wherever their foot falls, it's going to be a paved little spot where their foot lands. And then the next foot landed, a paved little spot, right? Wherever their foot touches, it's just a magically paved little spot. Where the truth is,
good luck with that.
We just need to walk through the grass and the thorns and the vines and the bugs and the shrubbery and get cut up and tore up, and trip and fall over.
Slugs,
Yeah, trip and fall and skin our knees, put a band-aid on it, get mommy to kiss it, whatever, right? And just keep trudging the path. And eventually, before you know it, actually, it doesn't take that long, you'll notice that it's a dirt path being worn in the grass. There's no longer a whole bunch of crap in your way, tripping you up and cutting you up and stuff. You've worn a path. And then the more you walk it, the more you wear the path, and the easier it gets to walk it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, it's about creating those new associations, the new perspective, the new baseline. And the baseline is going to come from making new associations, because everything we do, our patterns of behavior, are because we've got something to something else. Even new knowledge is because we've got something and we've piggybacked something else onto it. So, of course, when that crops up, we know exactly what to do. We know how to feel, because of the associations that we've joined together. And everything we do is based on our association. The thoughts that we have is based on the things that we've got associated. I mean, John just spoke about Gandhi. See, and as soon as John said Gandhi, because my mind's wired up a little bit different, my sense of humor is a little bit warped, a little bit twisted, a little bit deviated. So, of course, John says Gandhi, and straight away I've got this guy flying down the stairs, falling, So John might say to me, well, how does Gandhi conjure up the image of somebody falling down the stairs? Well, Gandhi, in my mind, it links up with a nursery rhyme, Goosey, Goosey, Gander. Yeah, we've all heard the nursery. You not heard that one, John?
No. Duck, duck, goose.
Goosey, Goosey, Gander, where shall I wander? Upstairs and downstairs in my lady's chamber. There I met an old man who wouldn't say his prayers. So I grabbed him by the left leg and threw him down the stairs.
Oh my God.
So you see how Gandhi somehow was linked to somebody flying down the stairs. And it may be a crazy example, but we can all relate to this. Somebody says something, and it will link back to something else. It might be an experience in your life. Somebody says, I'll put the kettle on, and it might link back to something. You had a bad experience, with somebody spilling a cup of tea or something, and it went down your leg. As soon as somebody says, I'll put the kettle on, you go straight into that knee-jerk reaction. That was the point of injecting that humorous link there. Everything we do ties back. Something happens, and whatever's associated with that is going to affect our behavior. True or not true, John?
Yep, absolutely.
So yeah, Gandhi flying down the stairs. Great example.
Look at you. You're trying to take a saint of a person and grab that poor old man by the leg and slang him, not even just throw. You're going to slang him down the stairs.
But that's how it works. We don't choose our associations, do we? They just get linked up. They get linked up in our mind. I mean, we can sit and we can enjoy the humorous side of it, but it's a great analogy of how the mind works. We've got so many things that we tie to a given scenario,
Right.
and we have no choice. I mean, I didn't think like 30 seconds ago, 40 seconds ago, whenever John mentioned Gandhi, that thought, I didn't choose for that thought to come up in my mind. But the associations that we have linked up, they're going to bubble to the surface, and you're going to act on that definition, that analogy, that association you've got linked in there. So be careful what you attach. But the flip side of that is if you attach something good to a negative experience, you can then move from that pessimistic outlook to an optimistic outlook by making the right associations, by making the right connections, by piggybacking something onto that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I totally agreed. Totally agreed.
That's called a good save.
So I do have, so there is a bullet point I have on my list here on the next monitor that I do at least want to touch on, even if it's kind of a horrible segue towards it.
Oh, now I'm worried. That's my happiness out of the window.
Oh, Johnny boy.
It's just an emotion. He is Johnny.
So I do want to point out that happiness is not the same as contentment. Okay, though they can be like intermixed and intermingled together, they're not the same thing. Okay, being content with a situation is different than just being a happy person. Okay, so I wanted to point that out because for one person, being happy in their life means that they're content with their lot, right? They're content with the job that they have. They're content with the family they have, whatever it is, right? And that,
satisfied. Yeah, satisfied.
They have a satisfaction with their life. They're content with the life, and they have a sense of happiness as a person because of that. And there is nothing in the world wrong with any of that. Nothing. Okay, it's a very good place to be. Matter of fact, if you're that person, you're doing a lot better than millions of other people in the world that have convinced themselves that in order to be happy, they have to be successful. And then they never let themselves be successful. They never say that they've been successful because they always have to do the next thing to be successful and the next thing. So they live a life of perpetual misery and chasing something that they never achieve.
I'm glad you said that. Yep.
So by comparison's sake for that, you are amazingly ahead of the game compared to that person. Okay, so if your game is comparing yourself to someone else, which I've already said in previous broadcasts is a bad thing, but if that's what you're doing, there you go. There's some context. But
Satan.
Bear in mind that there's also people out there who are happy with striving for more. That's what brings them joy and happiness. That pursuit of more, whatever it is, right? So whatever your definition, whatever is happy for you, that should be your baseline, not what someone else's definition of success and happiness and blah, 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 blah. Like my definition of success is different from Colin's definition of success. My definition of happiness is different from Colin's. It's different from yours. So be okay with that, right? Find your definition, what it means for you, and then go from there, right? Don't go from what I'm saying, from what Colin's saying, whatever. Find your baseline. Find, someone's made you happy. You've had think of a happy day, right? When you've had a great day, whatever it was, think about how you felt. That should be your baseline, right?
Good. I've just done what I suggested a few minutes ago. I'll just drop in Ed Lynn's name in the box there. He'll see that, and if he's around, he'll come in. I want to latch onto that as well, John. Content. Some people could be that's easy for you to say, right? So some people can be content. Some people can be content in a
You
bad
messed me up there,
situation.
buddy. I was like, is that British internet acting up again?
No.
No, it's just Colin acting up again.
Yeah, it's just me being acting up again. Yeah, it's what I do best. Just throw a spanner in the works just to complicate the situation. Content with a bad situation. A lot of people can be. And I think that's promoted. I mean, there's a lot of phrases, sayings that have been passed down the line that are helpful. Many hands make light work. That
Right.
sort of lends itself to collaboration. But then the flip side of that coin is you've got some. I'm going to assume that way back when there were some negative people out there that were trying to make the best of a bad job, and they would say things such as "better the devil you know." And this is why people have become content in a negative situation. To say, hello,
There's
John
Edward.
and
There's
Colin.
Edward.
You don't get a mention this evening from these two fine gentlemen. No, Edward, you got a mention from one fine gentleman. I asked Mr. Powell to drop your name in the box about 27 minutes ago, and I don't think it went in.
I did.
So
Apparently, you haven't looked at it 27 minutes ago either.
Right, so I can choose to feel happy about John's attack on my personality right there, live and in the broadcast, or I could choose to be okay about it. Yes, we did.
And to give everyone a hint, Colin is a moderator here. He himself could have invited him too.
Oh, shit. But this too shall pass. This too shall pass. I'm not going to feel unhappy about this. Yes, Edward. Myself and my good companion there, Mr. John Powell, published author, we did mention you. Would you like to come in and sit and chew the fat for a little while, Edward, or are you tied up, my friend?
Well, and I have invited everybody from the comments section that has said anything. I've sent invites too. So,
okay.
Anybody is welcome to come and join us and chew on somebody's fat. I don't know why we're chewing on fat though. Fat's not always the greatest thing to chew on. Maybe beef jerky.
Beef jerky. Now there's a thing.
Yeah.
Beef jerky. I wouldn't even know what beef jerky was if it turned around and bit me on the behind. What on earth is beef jerky? You need to open this one up for me, John. I'm a Brit.
It is dehydrated meat.
Dehydrated meat.
Right. So it's like strips, like really thin strip of dehydrated meat, and you chew on it, and it's flavored. They smoke it with flavoring, and then they dehydrate it, and you just go, yo, it's so good. It's so bad for you, but it's so good.
Dehydrated meat. How can that be good? It's like, ugh.
I know. And when you see it, you're like, oh God, that's disgusting. But it doesn't change the flavor at all. It's like a little it's like a gas station snack. It's like a bag of chips. You just pick up a thing and you can just chew on it. You know what I mean? Like
you could carry a frozen stoat around, but it wouldn't mean it's going to sound appetizing. Let me throw one back at you. Have you heard of porky scratchings?
No.
Oh wow. It's our equivalent of beef jerky by the sounds of it. It's like bits of pork and it's all dried out and it comes in a little bag and you can sit there and chomp on it.
Yeah, it's like that. But it's beef instead.
Oh, okay, Edward. Edward's tied up, unfortunately. He's spending time with his wife, heading to Crab Bite for some wonderful seafood.
There you go.
Excellent.
There you go. He's going to see it and he's going to eat it. It's food. He's going to see it. He's going to eat it. That's seafood. There you go.
Seafood. I like it. Yep. Enjoy your meal, Edward and family. That's great. Unfortunately, you can't join us then. That's not so great. But we will survive without the Pearlcaster.
We will survive.
Edward Lynn is the Pearlcaster of Haps. Such wise words. Every time he opens his mouth, he drops a pearl of wisdom. Right. Porky scratchings, beef jerky. I think we're reaching the end of the line with this one.
Yeah, I think we've kind of ran the well dry a little bit.
Oh, you're not kidding. Pork scratchings, beef jerky.
Yeah.
It seemed such a good idea. Let's do a broadcast about happiness, and we end up with porky scratchings and beef jerky. But we're happy. like a tooth without a root. No.
That's right. I don't think that's the lyrics to the song, buddy.
Can we then, Mr. Powell, sir, if we're in the process of concluding the broadcast, can we finish with a happy song? Is that feasible? Is it doable?
Oh, I suppose we can finish with that.
Such optimism. It's
but
unbounded. His
it's
optimism knows
unbounded.
it knows no limits. This optimism from Mr. Powell. He's happy.
I do want to kind of give one final thought for everybody, just as a reminder that a happy person can still have a bad day, or like a stressful experience, or a good day, or a great experience.
Yeah.
These things do not change the fact that it's a happy person, right?
No.
Just because
it's an outlook.
Yeah, just because like your neighbor's kid put their bicycle behind your car and you backed up on the back of it and ruptured your gas tank and blah, 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 blah. You can be mad and you can yell and go off and demand that the neighbor fix your car, whatever. But that doesn't, just because the emotions of anger in that moment is what you're experiencing and you're dealing with the situation at hand, that does not change the fact that you yourself are a happy person, right? Just because you're dealing with a situation doesn't change you're a happy person. So please don't get discouraged by thinking that, oh, well, I got mad at Sally Joe Smith at work yesterday because she wore purple pumps and whatever. And that's my thing. I wear purple pumps, and how dare she wear purple pumps to work, right? Just recognize it for what it is. Have the emotion, it's healthy, and then let that wave go back into the ocean when it's done. Okay, don't live in that wave, don't follow it, don't try to keep it, and recognize that I'm still me, even if the water from the ocean comes up on my legs or comes up on me and washes over me, and then it goes away. It didn't change that I'm still me. I might just be a little bit wet, but that's it.
Do the $100 bill.
Oh, the $100 bill. Yeah. So again, it's a story of a teacher in a classroom. Teacher grabs a $100 bill out of the pocket and holds it up for the students and asks, okay, who wants this $100 bill? And everybody raises their hands. Everybody wants a $100 bill. Of course, it's a $100 bill. And the teacher crumples it up and says, okay, who wants this $100 bill? And everybody still wants it. The teacher tears it in half and crumples it up and throws it on the floor and stomps on it with her foot. Who wants the $100 bill? Everybody still wants it. And the teacher says, well, you want the $100 bill because you understand the value. You get the value regardless of how I decided to treat it. Right?
Love it.
That $100 bill still has value. You have value. It doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter if your boss doesn't treat you right. It doesn't matter if your spouse doesn't treat you right, your friends. It doesn't matter. You have value regardless of how anybody else has decided to treat you, or most importantly, perhaps, regardless of how you have decided to treat you. You have value. Remember that. So
that's a good place to end. That's a great place to end, John. Wise words. I'm just going to say thank you for John. Edward says thank you for your kind words. Gratitude is the proper attitude when you're among friends. There will be no United States without the United Kingdom. And he also says we are happy for the provinces of Canada. Together we are better. Excellent. What a great way to end the broadcast.
Yeah, it is. All right. Thanks for showing up, folks. Thanks for stopping by for another great broadcast. We'll see you next week for number 8. And it's kind of a secret that we don't have the title out quite yet, but we will get that out to you.
No spoilers.
So, no spoilers. It's not Avengers Endgame, but no spoilers.
Take care.
Have a great week, folks. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for coming by.